Hi everyone, in this video I'm going to show you how to do a forward shoulder adjustment. This is a very common adjustment that needs to be done on garments because oftentimes the shoulder seam falls to the back because our shoulders over time have become much more rounded because we are hunched over all day due to computers, cell phones, and things like that. So what happens is this shoulder seam needs to be altered so that it is brought more forward on the body. And to do this, it is very easy. So let's say, for example, we need to do a 1/2 inch shoulder seam alteration. Now there are different types of shoulder seam alterations, but this is the easiest way to do it. So this is the bodice back, and let's say we have determined that we need to bring the shoulder seam forward a 1/2 inch. So this is the stitching line right here, and this over here is the cut line. So the easiest way for me to do it is to just extend the cut line another let's say it's a 1/2 inch. Okay, so let's say I bring this here. My purple line is my cut line, and then you just true this seam. You can freehand it or you can do a French curve. So what happens is this becomes my new cut line on my pattern. And I'm going to assume that this is going to be for a 1/2 inch forward shoulder adjustment. Now yours may be less, yours may be more. I'm just using 1/2 inch as my example. So if you bring that shoulder seam forward a 1/2 inch, you're going to need to alter the front and bring that 1/2 inch forward as well. To do this, you want to take your ruler and let's draw in a new seam allowance, and let's say it's going to be 1/2 inch. So right here, this is going to be your new seam line, and then this is going to be your new cut line. So the cut line has been brought forward from here to here, and this is the seam line right here. So on this one, I can just cut off the excess, and there you go. And that is how easy a forward shoulder adjustment is. All you're doing is moving the seam line so it is in the center of the shoulder. When you do a forward shoulder adjustment on the bodice, this presents a conundrum of sorts because the sleeve has to be adjusted as well. Now, if you don't have sleeves, let's say you're putting on a binding, it's not going to matter for the binding. But if you're putting in a sleeve, you're going to have to think, how is this sleeve going to fit into the armscye or the armhole of the garment? So let's think about this. Our sleeve piece came as just one side, and this area right here is going to be placed on the fold. So that's how we're going to cut the sleeves. When we open this up, if we made another copy and taped them together, we're going to find that on the pattern, the back and the front are exactly the same. In the garment sewing world, we know that this would be considered a poor sleeve draft because our back armhole on our bodies is longer than the front armhole. And this is often reflected when you see that armholes, that shoulder seam slipping to the back of the body, and it's further enhanced because we tend to have more forward shoulders now. So when you move the shoulder seam forward, and I'm going to use a 1/2 inch as an example, when you move that shoulder seam forward, you are essentially moving that seam forward so it's placed right here. When you try to put the cut sleeve into the garment, you're going to realize that something's not going to match up. If you sew these two edges together, you're going to find it's not going to match at the side seam of the garment. So this is how we handle that. If you made a 1/2 inch shoulder seam adjustment on the bodice, what you're going to do is add a 1/2 inch to the back, just like this. And this is going to make your back armhole longer. Now you could use a French curve, or you could just eyeball that. No sense in going out and buying something new if you're just starting out sewing. But then on the front, you're going to take a 1/2 inch off. So this is what we're going to cut off. So this will disappear, and this will have the addition of that 1/2 inch in the back, thus making our back shoulder seam longer and our front shoulder seam shorter. That is more of an anatomically correct sleeve for our bodies, and this is why forward shoulders, since they are so prevalent, that the alteration is going to be on the bodice itself as well as the sleeve. All right, you guys, thanks for watching, and if you want more tips and videos on all things sewing, please make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel and join my Facebook group, Cyber Sewing School. And if you'd like to listen to all things sewing, you can always download my podcast, Sew Chat with Kat, on iTunes and Spotify. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.